Only knowledge by better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy comes true. But no, stable duel.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
Oh, happy Friday morning to you. You know what's going on every Friday morning. This weekend in Stable Duel, we've got the sniper, Barry Spears. We've got Matt DeSantis. And we've got, guys, a crazy loaded Stable Duel schedule this weekend. I don't know if I can remember seeing a Saturday lineup quite like this. We've got, between Friday and Saturday, Gulfstream, Tampa, Laurel, Santa Anita, Sam Houston. And then on Saturday, you bring the Dubai World Cup card into play. Look at all the money, Matt, in those cards on Saturday. You've got Sam Houston with an $8,000 prize pool. You've got Gulfstream with a $3,000 prize pool and then a $2,500. You've got Laurel with a smaller game, a Santa Anita double up. You've got a Dubai World Cup game with a 10,000 prize pool to shoot at. This is as big of a Saturday as I could remember.
Yeah, it's great to see it spread out over so many different tracks too. So, people who have those regional preferences, whether it's the Mid-Atlantic, whether it's, the Midwest and the South, it's just, and obviously the world's going to be focused on what's happening in Dubai with the big Dubai World Cup, the UAE Derby. So, it's great. And, something for everybody too, $2 games, $10 games, $50 games, whatever your price point you're comfortable with, there's going to be something for you on Saturday.
And Barry, what's really cool about the time where we are right now, it is full steam ahead as far as the Derby preps are concerned. This is the week where we've got Fairgrounds coming up this weekend with the Louisiana Derby. And then next weekend, I think we've got Florida Derby, Arkansas Derby. Following that, we'll have Santa Anita Derby. Then Keeneland opens up. I think even Turfway has their prep next week. So we got some clarity yesterday too, as far as starting to see some of the Baffert horses get transferred out of his barn, because that was something that we were all kind of wondering. We didn't know what was going on, and that was sort of a big cloud hanging over this year's Derby. So at least we're getting some clarity. It feels like with that happening yesterday and these preps, we're getting here, we're getting close, right? It's getting real now.
It's heating up. It's heating up. This is the time of year, as horse players that we live for every year. So, definitely looking forward to it. Like you said, things are starting to get shaken out here, and we're going to get a little bit of direction as to what this field is going to look like in the Derby, and it should be a good one.
Yeah. So, okay, here's a look at the schedule for the weekend. We took you through it, and now we are going to dive in and give you some best bets and plays. Now, remember, folks, if you want to hang out with us today, anytime that this live stream is going, if you retweet the live stream and just quote tweet it and tell us what track you're going to be playing this weekend, Sam Houston, Santa Anita, Gulfstream, that's all. Let us know what track, which games you're going to be playing. Give us a reply or a quote tweet. We're going to pick one of you at the end of this, and we're going to put $50 into your Stable Duel account. You can play whatever contest you want this weekend. You can have, you can play in a couple small ones. You can use that 50 to get into one of the bigger games, whatever you want. We're just going to give you a little thank you for hanging out with us here. And that way we figured if we can get a few extra people watching, a few extra people into some of these contests this weekend, we'll all be playing for some bigger money. So let's have some fun. And let's jump right into it, fellas. So, Matt, you said you were going to have a couple Tampa plays for today, I believe, right?
Yeah, I have 2 Tampa plays for today.
Awesome. Well, let's head on over there.
Okay.
Barry, you're going to be at Gulfstream and Santa Anita, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, Matt, you take us through Tampa. You tell us where you're heading for your plays at Tampa.
Yeah, so let's go to race 2. Let's start off there. And and we should just say that, and this will be relevant for one of my other picks at Tampa today, that they are off turf at Tampa. They're also off turf at Gulfstream. So those are.
Yeah, it rained here a lot yesterday. All day, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's important because the pricing, right? You can catch horses still based off their morning line prices when on a surface switch, this horse was 10-1 on the grass. They're going to be 2-1 on the dirt, something like that sometimes.
Exactly. We saw that happen last night at Sam Houston, that a lot of horses that were huge morning
Absolutely.
lines really got bet down because they had a lot of dirt experience and suddenly, and they ran to form on dirt. And when we're able to give you a lot of really good value. So, from that stable duel perspective. So, yeah, so let's go to race 2 at Tampa. And this is a $25,000 maiden claiming 7 furlongs on the dirt. And I'm going to go to number 6, Steak and Eggs. This is a horse I like quite a bit here, and is actually kind of returning to kind of a more comfortable setting, I think, and is returning to dirt after running twice on the synthetic. Interestingly enough, this is a race where it's 7 furlongs. You have some horses that are cutting back, some horses that are stretching out. But Steak and Eggs is a horse that stretched out to a mile and a 16th last time out on the synthetic and is now cutting back to that 1 turn, 7 furlongs. I think that'll suit this horse better. This horse started out on dirt and actually turned in its best performance on dirt, admittedly a distant second in its maiden claiming debut, but then kind of switched to synthetic and had pretty poor experiences, and now is coming back to the dirt at Tampa. Also is moving from Gulfstream to Tampa. That's an angle I tend to like to play when you have the Gulfstream horses coming up to Tampa. You have a jockey in Camacho who's winning a 19% clip. The trainer, Scott Ackers, is winning at a 27% clip. When those two team up, which is not often, but when they do team up, they're winning half the time with a $6 ROI.
Yeah.
So I like this. That's a 8-1 horse that's only going to cost you $3,000.
There's also a scratch right next door, so it's already a smaller field, and this horse is going to be a shorter price. It's a good spot.
Yeah, and the two favorites are, in the 1-2 spot. I understand why they're the favorites, and rightfully so. But one of the things we've talked about is young horses breaking from the inside. I just things can go haywire there sometimes. So I wouldn't expect for both of them to get perfect trips and for both of them to fire. And so again, for $3,000 at 8-1 in a really small field, a 5-horse field now, if you can catch a second, that's great. You're getting a nice return on investment for your $3,000 in stable duel.
I mean, the only problem I have with this is I'm more of a bacon and eggs guy myself. That's it.
I hear you, man.
Yeah. Other than that,
it can be heavy. Steak and Eggs is good at like 2 a.m. when maybe you've been out at the club, you've been out, you hit up Waffle House, you need something, you need that grease in your belly so you don't wake up too hungover the next morning.
That's true.
Biggie said it best.
He did.
T-bone steak, cheese egg. Well, it's great.
You can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a butcher's, but I take the. That's what's so great about this show is we go from the world of rap to Chris Farley. Very quickly. We can just cross. We can go from hip hop to Chris Farley and Tommy Boy, just like that, like crossing over, like no other show in horse racing.
We're versatile.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So while we're at Tampa, Matt, where else you want to head?
Let's go to race 5, and this is one. Speaking of scratches, this is a race that has been littered with scratches because this was supposed to be on turf. We have 4 scratches in this race. This was a 9-horse field. Now it's down to a 5-horse field. Among one of the scratches is the favorite, the 3, which was going to cost you $9,400 in a stable duel. I love the 7, Chicken Wilbur at 20-1. This was one that I just kind of landed on this morning or kind of last night because I figured it was going to be off turf. And this is a horse that's 20-1, going to cost you only $250 in the stable duel. So this is a super, super cheap horse. And this is a horse that now is in a very small field and has some nice dirt experience, has run 17 career races on dirt, hit the board 10 of times with 3 wins. This is a very competent horse on that surface who has really strong speed figures compared to how the rest of the field has done on dirt. So I think that transition to dirt just again, it just really opens this up. I think this is a horse that's at a big price from a morning line, which will probably get bet down significantly by post time, but you can get it for only $250 in your stable. And I think you might be able to catch a winner at a really, really cheap price. And if not, again, $250, even if you hit the board, again, in a 5-horse field, you're going to be thrilled for that sort of return on investment.
Yep. This is a good spot to go find one in this race now that's been decimated by scratches. Couple plays at Tampa. Anything else for you at Tampa while we're out here, Matt?
Nope, that's it for today.
Nice Tampa.
Chicken Wilbur just texted me and told me you don't need to call her cheap. You have to call her inexpensive.
I do.
In
It's so funny you say that because I do when I write about Stable Duel, I sit there and I always correct myself because I'm like, I don't want to call a horse cheap. Like
I
that's
know.
not nice. Like I'll use the word inexpensive but like, yeah, it's too funny because that is always inside
Great
my head.
value, even like
was
Great
gonna
value,
Walmart
yes.
style.
I
It's
was
a great
gonna say,
value.
lower level or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
you
blue
try to
light
think
special, whatever.
the nicest possible way.
See,
So,
these are things I learned, being out at the track and doing shows and stuff like
I was gonna
that.
say
Yeah.
you learn these things
That's a good
being on
point.
air, right? When you're a talking head now,
Yes,
you have to just be
absolutely.
a little bit more diplomatic with some of your analysis sometimes here
See,
and
I'm
there.
learning. I'm getting there. I'm not there yet.
Exactly.
I
Okay,
love
let's head over to Gulfstream Park. Barry, tell us where you want to head for some Gulfstream.
Race 4, which is funny enough, well, no, not this isn't actually a cheap race, but it's actually one for horses that are win end challenged. So
Win challenge, winning
they
challenge.
don't win. But this was a kind of crazy race. It's a 35,000 non-winners of 3 races, or non-winners of a race since September 25th. The horse I like here is actually kind of a trip horse, and anybody that's watched this at any time or seen me anywhere, I talk about horses that don't necessarily fit speed figure wise, that do fit as a pace scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have here in the horse that I selected, which is number 4, League of Shadows. I think this horse has some races to go back to, at a higher level. Came off the bench since November to run February 20th and ran pretty decent. I think the horse needed that race.
Yep.
The trainer's starting to heat up a little bit. He was kind of got off to a rough start, but starting to heat up. This is probably his best maneuver, second off a layoff of this magnitude. So I think this one kind of fits the billing here because there's quite a bit of speed, I think, and this horse isn't going to be in the lead. I'm just hoping the pace is kind of quick. Considering they're going to be off the turf, this was originally scheduled for the turf. It's going to be on a synthetic. I think this suits this horse to a T.
Yeah.
And at 6-1, on the morning line as a Stable Duel prospect, this one fits the bill completely.
League of Shadows. I like it. 6-1. Only going to cost you 5,000 in your Stable Duel lineup. This horse is going to be a lot shorter than that when post time comes. League of Shadows in
Shadows.
Shadows.
Shout out to Dave.
Dave actually spoke. I sent Dave a message because Dave, I love Dave. Honestly,
It's my
Dave
man.
is a really, really good friend of mine, and he's just one of those people where like we don't work together, so it'll end up being like months sometimes before we'll end up. I'll throw a text out to him because I just haven't had seen him as much. And I sent him a message the other day. I was like, man, I miss you. Like, give me a call or like, let's hang. And he called me right away. He was just on the way driving somewhere. We just kind of chopped it up for like 15, 20 minutes. It was really cool to catch up with him. It's like, we all have our buddies or people that you just get you get caught up in life sometimes and you don't get a chance to link up with them as much. Dave was someone who we got along pretty well, but then we had a trip where we went to Presque Isle, and that's always how you become really close with someone when you go on a trip, because it's like for 3 days we ate every meal together, for 3 straight days. We were literally with each other the whole time, and so he was annoyed as hell by Gino after a few days. I can promise you that. That's like one of those things where it's like, if you can suffer through a trip with me, then you've got like, then I'm in. Then I'll never annoy you at that point. Like if you can make it through that with me, then we're good to go. So shout out to our buddy Dave the Dream Weaver. Where else we went ahead on Friday at Gulfstream, Barry?
Well, you know how I do. I like to put 2 races together. I like to play doubles a lot.
Dubs, those straight dubs, baby.
So we're going to race 5, which is
I
a
like it.
$20,000 claimer, and this one is kind of this was like the half a play. I have 3, but this one's kind of like a half.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like this horse, and it's number 2, Grant Andrews, and 15-1 on
Yes.
the line. And I like horses that kind of do this sort of maneuver, and this is something that I pay attention to, is when 2-year-olds turn 3, and they've been off of a layoff or a semi layoff, and they run a figure close to what their best figure was as a 2-year-old. There's usually a jump up in
Mm-hmm.
they kind of get to know things, and there's improvement there. And this
Especially
one
with the
fits
running
this to a
line
T.
like this, where you
Yes,
can tell that it wasn't a good effort, right? It wasn't like they had a great effort to get that big figure. Like they can be
correct.
better than that. And so there's like,
Exactly.
yep, I like I like what you're saying. I like looking for something like this.
Yeah, it's just a pattern that I noticed, and you'll see, even 3-year-olds on the Derby Trail will do this too, where they come back and run a decent fig as a 3-year-old, and then they have another jump up in them, and they improve. A horse that actually fits that bill this year is Shipsational, and that horse has a lot of upside. So, but yeah, this one kind of fits that billing. There's not much in here, to be honest with you, and this race seems a lot more wide open than the favorite, who's the 7 rushing to win. I don't think that horse is all that intimidating in this spot. The outside horse fishing for fun may also be okay, but I mean, there's no world beaters in here, and these horses aren't that. This isn't a great stellar group. At 15-1, I think the horse is $500 in stable duel, and I think this horse can definitely win. But if you finish second or third, if you like other favorites later on, this has to be something you might want to look at, only because it'll save you money later on, so you could spend up on somebody that's you think is a lock at a favorite's price.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
Let's
that was one I had too, Barry. So I'm glad to see we're overlapping again.
All right.
So yeah, no, and that was a horse that it made I mean, first of all, it was always impressive when a horse wins its maiden, and then it went up to a really big jump, or not a
Yeah,
huge jump.
tough
That was
race.
a nice race with Cyber Viking, and that was that's a nice second time out, and clearly something happened, and they had the layoff, came back. So yeah, I like those racing lines quite a bit in that spot. So
Barry, you said you had
like it a lot.
one more, right? On
Yes, sir.
Friday Gulfstream. Where are we headed?
Yep.
So I didn't mean to
We're
interrupt
heading-
you, Matt. That was rude.
All
Man.
right. No, that's all right.
Jackass
All
I
good.
am. Seriously, right?
Dang it.
I know.
We're going to race 8.
Okay.
Race 8, which is a start allowance 25,000.
Okay.
I'm on number 3. Harry's on the Loose. Just had a heartbreak last time at 5-1.
That's a brutal beat.
Was claimed by Brendan Walsh and shows up in this spot after a nice workout on March 19th, which was on the turf. Even though this is a synthetic race, I think for this horse it really doesn't matter. I just think this horse it's time. I know I shouldn't say that because usually you bail on horses like this, but this horse has run bang up races, loves to finish. I think there's enough speed in here where he can close. I just think this horse is a great play today.
Love it. Harry's on the Loose. Yeah, I agree. That was a wicked beat. And you always like to see when you get beat that the horse comes back and the race comes back live. So natural power comes out of that race and again beats that optional 62 level at 5-1 in a tough spot, earning a 90 plus buyer speed figure. So
I mean, if you look at his past performances, you can see a whole bunch of horses that would be like 1-2 in this spot.
Oh, I know, right? King of Dreams there. Even a horse like Bad Beat Brian, who's really, really sharp. You go down, this horse has faced some tough ones. So
Yeah.
I like the spot. Good call here. Harry's on the Loose at Gulfstream Park on Friday. So Matt, you are where else on Friday? Santa Anita, did you say?
No, I also have Gulfstream on Friday.
Okay,
too.
cool. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we headed? I didn't realize.
Yeah. No, we'll go back to the front. We'll go to race 2, actually.
Okay.
And this is a $20,000 claimer, 5 furlongs on the synth for non-winners of 2. And I like the number 2 here, Patty D. And this is one where, you mentioned Presque Isle. And it's funny. This is a horse that ran on the synth at Presque Isle and ran really well on the synth there. And this is a horse that's 5 for 7 career hitting the board on that surface. Then kind of, went from Presque Isle to Gulfstream and probably bit off more than it could chew. And, kind of entered some steeper fields, did not do as well, ran on turf, then ran another turf race that got moved off. And just, again, $40,000 starter allowance, $25,000 optional claimers. Those are better fields than what it's going to be facing today. So, kind of dropping back a little bit in class. I like that. And especially when you look at the figures that Patty D has run on this surface on the synth, they're very comparable to what the leaders and the favorites have run on this surface as well. High 50s, low 60s buyer figures, and this is a horse that's always right around the board, even though it's only obviously a winner of one. But I just think for $500 at 15-1, this is a really good value play on a horse that clearly does like the surface, is getting back to his preferred surface in a better spot. Also, if you look at those Presque Isle races, there were 6 furlongs, this one's 5, but there were some hot paces in those races. Those were serious, especially, and legitimate
for Presque Isle.
Yeah, that's what I kind of did a double take and did something when I was looking at that. But I mean, those are hot paces and strong fractions that they were putting up. So this horse should not be intimidated by the quality of competition that it's going up against here. And the horse will probably sit a little off the pace. But I think the 3 and the 4, maybe the 8, kind of go to the lead here, and give this horse something to run into. But for $500, I really like Patty D in race 2.
Patty D for Maddie in race number 2. Matt, where else you want to head at Gulfstream Park?
Well, I'll go right next door to number 3. Like Barry, I kind of like playing kind of 2 next to each other.
There we go.
And so we'll go to race 3, which is a $50,000 maiden optional claiming 6.5 furlongs. And I'll go to the number 6, Racing Colors. That horse is 8-1. It's only going to cost you $3,000. This horse just didn't have the greatest debut, just got off slow, and just never really had a chance. But what I liked about this horse is it kept going, and was making up lengths at the end. So this is a horse I just felt like was kind of in a good spot, showed some speed, got some of the jitters out, also was breaking from the far inside post. And that's something which I always am very concerned about.
Inside to outside.
It's the worst. And so this is a great play. I think now this horse is going to have a much better spot, should be able to get off much better. And the debut speed figure is right there with just about anybody else in the field. 8-1 for $3,000. Like Barry said, some of these fields are not that overwhelming. This is one that, again, I didn't feel like the favorites were that intimidating. So I just think this is a horse that is bound to see a pretty significant improvement from race 1 to race 2. So, and I like Lionel Reyes. I mean, one of the things that we should point out is Gulfstream this week is going to be a little bit different from a jockey standpoint because the Ortiz brothers are overseas, as is Luis Saez.
It's a good
point.
On
Saturday, Gaffleone is going to be in New Orleans for the fairgrounds. So you're going to see a lot of different names on the jockey card that maybe you haven't seen before if you don't play Gulfstream that often, or if you always rely on kind of the big name jocks. So somebody like Lionel Reyes, I think, is a really nice jockey there. And Matthew Williams, I like his training style quite a bit. Tends to be good second maiden starts. So I like this horse.
Awesome stuff, Matt. You have anything else at Gulfstream Park?
That's it for Gulfstream.
Those 2 for you at Gulfstream Park. Let's head on Friday over to Santa Anita. I gotta say, I love me some Santa Anita. I'm 5 minutes away. Grew up playing Santa Anita. I didn't think this was the greatest card in the world. I got a couple that we could find, but you're gonna have a tough time just finding each race horses that the horses that we're trying to find here for you, horses that are like less than $5,000 or $6,000. There aren't a ton of them throughout the card. Now, the one that I like early in the card that I found, and we will go get to right now at Santa Anita, is going to be in race number 4. And I'm talking about the number 3, Smile for Me. So let's take a look at this horse on Friday at Santa Anita in this 5.5 furlong race. It's a 16 starter on the dirt. So it's a small field, but Starship Chewbacca is shown some speed from the rail has shown some speed the last 2 times and draws the rail. Big Sport is really quick, so they're going to go. Half Right is really quick, so they're going to go. Mr. Lovejoy is really quick, so they're going to go. Lux Royal Flush is really quick. I think they're going to want to be forwardly placed. And the only horse in this field that really can pass horses and that can sit off a little bit is Smile for Me. And Smile for Me is a horse who drew the rail last time out and sort of got forced a little bit. And if you look at the race, Smile for Me kind of just missed the break. It was just a small field. Smile for Me missed the start and that was from the rail, and that was kind of it. In a small field like that, you're sort of in a bad spot where you're kind of chasing, and see through the head
Yeah.
right there, the one. And so just between the two going out, the one going in, there was just a lot of kind of weird stuff happening early on in that race. What I like is the two-back race, guys, that February 6th race, that was a 25 starter allowance. The horse who won that race, Principe Carlo, this horse was dropping out of a stakes race, $100,000 Calbred Stakes, and then they stepped up and they finished second in the Grade 2 San Carlos out of that race. So you see a 25 starter, and you don't think that you're talking about a horse who's graded stakes placed there. Admiralty has already come out of that race to win. So if we're just comparing the levels of races that some of these horses are coming out of, I think we can eliminate the February 26th race and put a line right through it for Smile for Me. And then 2 starts back, we can go, oh, wow, this horse really did run into a much tougher group there and had some trouble that day. And that race was going 6.5. Now you're back going 5.5. You're in a situation where you're not going to be as fast as the others. So you're probably going to be sitting more of the trip like you sat on January 9th, 2 or 3 lengths off in closing. That's the trip I want for Smile for Me, coming from off the pace a little bit. I'm looking for a horse that can sit and pass in a race loaded with speed. Smile for Me in race number 4 at Santa Anita, 8-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $3,000 in your stable dual lineups there. So that's one that I was able to sniff out at Santa Anita. I know you've got 1 or 2, right, Barry, at Santa Anita for Friday?
Oh, always
Always at the Great Race Place.
I think I got 3 actually.
Awesome,
Oh,
beautiful.
Look at
Dish
you.
them out, my friend. Where we go?
eating your Wheaties this
I
morning.
mean,
Look at you.
Right,
Yeah,
right. I'm trying to get it started. Race 3 is the
Okay.
first one. This is a state bred maiden special weight.
Okay.
Nothing crazy here. I mean, it's funny because you got one first time starter. Everybody's kind of run, and nobody's run all that great.
Oh.
So I couldn't really be enthusiastic about the horses that are probably going to take money here. I almost went with a first time starter, but they just doesn't have the history or the training and the connections don't have the history to kind of pop here.
Yep.
But I ended up on number 8, Overregulated.
Yeah, I like this one.
Out of the Doug O'Neill barn. Yeah, I think this horse has a lot of upside in comparison to everybody else. I mean, you look at the horse inside of him. Square Cat has gone to the lead every time and quit. But that horse is 5-2 on the line, which I just can't do it with a horse like that who's never finished second. He's first or third every time, or actually third every time, other than one other time when he was fourth. So I have no confidence in a horse like that. And like I said before, the first time starters don't look all that great. They're not out of barns that typically pop first time out. This one ran a pretty decent race first time on the grass last time, and I another angle that I typically try to use is when horses step on the grass the first time, kind of use that as a gauge in comparison to everybody else's first time on the grass.
Yep.
And then the improvement is imminent. They're definitely usually, or actually not definitely, most of the time they improve on that second start on the surface. So that's really the angle that I'm going with here. There's really, this horse could actually sit a great trip off a Square Cat if they really want to be aggressive, but they don't necessarily have to be. I think
options.
Unless
I feel like you got some options with the draw too, right? Knowing
exactly.
you got the speed to get in there and get position, but you don't have to.
No, and that's going to be the greatest thing about the ride that this horse is going to get. Mario does a good job of that sort of thing, is picking his spots and knowing when to be aggressive and when not to. I think he's very underrated, actually, and always has been. I think he's a pretty good rider. So we're going to go with that one here, 5-1 on the line. Probably will get bet down, so you might get some value on your play here.
Okay, I've got one more at Santa Anita. I know, Barry, you've got 2 more, so why don't you take us to your next play?
My next would be in race 5. Okay. And I think it's the same horse that you picked in the last race this horse ran. It's number 1, Vanzi.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like this horse in this spot. I mean, this is a high level, almost a stakes caliber field here. And you have some horses in the 5, the shipper or the first time North America from France. I don't even know how to say the name.
Yeah.
Ecrivain.
Ecrivain. Yeah, we can
But
go
that
with
horse
that.
likes to be last all the time.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like, all right, I get it. The horse probably has a nice kick, but it just doesn't win races, especially in going a mile and at Santa Anita.
Yep.
It's just not a great trip. Not to mention the horse is going to be stuck on the outside. There's a lot not to like there, and the horse that should be on the lead, I don't have much confidence in. Um, in Lambeau, who tends to kind of quit a little bit.
Mhm.
It's only his only or his first race at a mile on the turf was pretty decent in the restricted lure stakes, but kind of fell off late. Got beat by Neptune Storm and Order and Law, so it's not a overly great race, but decent enough here. And then you have Master of Foxhounds, who has all the class but likes to go longer. So
Mhm.
Vanzi, I think, just kind of
Fits.
eases into a nice spot here,
Yeah.
where he's not going to be too far off the pace. He's got the rail draw, which definitely helps because Lambeau's definitely going to be on the lead. And if they go slow, I think he can outkick Lambeau.
I like this one too. That's a good one. Vanzi, who's got some class too. Barraza is
Does.
a race that he comes out of. Barraza came back to win graded stakes. That race has come back very live. Barristan the Bolds also come out of that race to win.
Mhm.
And I think we might get another winner coming out of that race tomorrow with Commander, who is running at Santa Anita and is like 7-2. Not necessarily a horse that's like a stable dual horse, but maybe a nice horse to play in some of your late exotics tomorrow. So Vanzi for the Sniper, race number 5, the number 1, 6-1 on the morning line, going to cost you 5,000 in your stable dual lineup.
Also,
actually,
only
Commander.
has to
So
beat one
Commander runs in the
horse
7th on Friday. Sorry, go ahead. Or go
Well, I
ahead
was going to say only has to beat really one horse to
Right.
be
to get you
kind of
points.
effective. Right.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to spend up in a race like that.
yeah, good spot for Vanzi. I said Commander runs on Saturday. So what happens when you handicap like all of the days, sometimes in a row? They just blur together. It's like Commander actually runs later on Friday. So here he is, here he is right there. So yeah, that's Commander in race number 7, who looks pretty live. I'm gonna head to race number 8 for
Uh-oh. That's
uh-huh.
I got
your
one
other?
in 8 too. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe we're
let's
on the same
see.
one.
Okay,
I think
number
we're probably on the
7.
same. That's it. That's the one.
1,000. Here we
right.
go. So
That's who I'm on.
yeah, we have this is one who you got the really long layoff for 1,000 Dreams. Last race was a total prep. It was just going 5.5 on the dirt. They want to go longer on the turf. And so for 1,000 Dreams now, you got this hot barn who's having a really, really nice meeting so far. And so you figure they're going to be much better in this spot. And Barry, what I like about this is that now I've had the Vanessa Carlton song stuck in my head,
Oh,
the 1,000
boy.
miles, because I'd walk 1,000 miles. So maybe we get 1,000 Dreams coming in, and we'll be humming that tune all
You
day
got to do
long.
like the Terry
Yeah.
Crews version from White
Exactly.
Chicks.
Was that and that with the White Chicks? Because I'd want. It's a good underrated movie. It really is. It's funny.
My dad got me that DVD for like my birthday one year,
funny.
and he's
It
like,
is.
"This is hysterical." I was
Jim
like, "It is
Rome
funny, Dad."
always talks about that on his show. He'll talk it like he would go into like one of the cool things about Jim Rome is like the relationship he has with the listeners and the audience. They have this whole world of terminology that they live in and everything. And that was a funny part of the show for a while. People were quoting White Chick, in that movie over and over. It was just hilarious. So, Barry, tell us a little bit more about 1,000 Dreams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just on board here. I think the horse, it's just been off for a while, needs to stretch his legs, or her legs. Has a lot of back class. This is, probably the most appropriate spot for this horse, and just fits in every way. So I'm on board here at 5-1.
We are both on board, and so I love it. We always seem to have very nice success when we team up, whether it's Matt and Barry, myself and Matt, myself and Barry. Usually that's good because if you think about it, if it's any races that we can pick out, and if we both or two of us or all three of us like find the same thing, it's usually because maybe the line is off, maybe there's a scratch there. That's usually a good horse or a good race to target. So It makes
And-
me
and-
feel a little more comfortable. Like a lot of times when one or you two is on the same one, because it's like, okay, we're all seeing the same thing here.
Yeah, and I know in the past, even when we're not on the same horse, a lot of times we're in the same race. And
Mhm.
again, I think for listeners, that should be something where you go, okay, well, clearly the favorite is vulnerable here.
Vulnerable favorite, because we're never giving out horses that are under 5-1. That's just
Right.
not what we're really doing here at all.
Right.
So
Right. And I think each of us has our own handicapping style too, in terms of what we look at. So when we arrive at the same point, a lot of times we've done it not necessarily two completely different ways, but there's
But-
multiple angles for why you should
Exactly.
like that horse.
we've
Yeah.
gotten there on different, different approach, different processes to get
Yep.
there,
Yep.
So that's definitely what I like. I'm going to head and give out a couple for Sammy Houston for Friday night, because we've got a big weekend at Sam Houston. Shout out to them. I am putting together a little bit later on today a full show called the Sam Houston Saturday Spectacular, because
love
we've
it.
got the,
I love alliteration. I
yep,
love some
right.
good alliteration.
right.
That's great.
We've got Saturday 7 stakes races on the 10 race card, $100,000 on all of them. And I was lucky enough to get Martha Clausen to join me. She does the press releases over there. I'm going to have Jessica Paquette join me, who's doing the on-track handicapping, Nick Tamaro, who is the voice of Sam Houston, and Trey Styles, who also does the on-track feed. So I literally was able to get the whole crew together to help out. We're going to have a full show for you released later on. So while Sam Houston has a big day on Saturday, they also have a stable duel game that you can jump into on Friday. And I've got a couple. I always seem like I can find the big prices at Sam Houston, which I like just for my handicapping style. So I got a couple for you. Let's take a look at race number 2. This horse is 10-1 on the morning line, so will only cost you $1,000 to use in your stable dual lineup. That's the number 4, Love My Ride. So this is a 20 non-3 here, and Love My Ride was a pretty good second last time out behind 3-time Charmer, and this is a really sharp horse right now. 3-time Charmer, who has won 3 in a row. 3-time Charmer beat the 5,000 beaten claimers last time out for Caldwell. I think it's a good spot for Love My Ride, who's now going to be making their third start for this barn after coming in a few starts back, and just fits really well. Nice tactical style. Richard Aramia has had a real solid meet throughout. Not the biggest field in the world. Not going to cost you a whole heck of a lot. The number 4, Love My Ride, only $1,000 in your stable dual lineup. And guys, I have a 10-1, a 20-1, and a 15-1 as the ones that we were looking at. So you can use different combinations. You can play a couple different lineups. You can, maybe you use them all, and then you spend up on a couple other races. So here's Smart Battle. And Smart Battle is one that I wanted to watch the race here on Smart Battle last time out. So Smart Battle is in a maiden 25. This 5th race on tonight is a maiden 25. Smart Battle last time we saw was in a maiden special weight race, is the number 6 in this race here. And I actually thought this was a really sneaky good effort. Smart Battle was kind of close up on the inside. You see a pretty good start for the number 6 here.
Mhm.
And going into the first turn with some other company here, they end up having to kind of tap on the brakes. You'll see right around here, they're trying to figure out what to do, where to go. And when the 9 sort of crosses over a little bit, the 6 has to sort of slam on the brakes right here, take up. And now all of a sudden you get stuck in that spot inside where it's sort of that make it or break it spot. You're saving ground, but you're at the mercy of the field, and you're at the mercy of what's going to happen. This horse is kind of traveling pretty well down inside in 3rd, and is going to move up into contention without a ton of room, gets up to within a couple lengths before flattening out. Now, again, this is a maiden special weight race. They're going to now drop in class against maiden claimers. They're now going to go second time going long. That was just the first time going over 6.5 furlongs. That was just the second turf start ever. Right here, the 6 is, looming up into contention, just doesn't have anywhere to go. And most horses don't have multiple runs, right? The good horses we see are the ones that are like, oh, this horse had a bunch of trouble and they were able to get through and win. But that's an outlier. That's why we get so impressed when we see performances like that. Most of the time when horses loom up into contention like that, if they don't have room and they get kind of flat and then that's it. Like, I like this race getting right up into contention. And then, you know what? So look at this field. When the winner runs off like this, you're not all that far away from the rest of the field either. I think there's a lot of positives in here for Smart Battle, who is 20-1 on the morning line. I mean, this is basically like a freebie in your stable dual lineup. So this one's in the mix for me, no doubt about it tonight. Going in the maiden 25s here, going the mile in a 16th, dropping in class. Smart Battle, and like really live connections too, Matt. Normally when you'd see a horse like this that's a big price, it's probably like, the jockey may be 1 for 50, or the connections haven't won a whole lot this year. Right. But these are connections that have won a lot of races at the meet. Yeah,
and that's something that Sam Houston, I mean, to put a point on that. There's a lot more than just Steve Asmussen, Sam Houston or Broberg or Gustafson. You look at Mindy Willis's barn, you look at whatchamacallit, even Duhan's barn, as you see here.
Caldwell.
Caldwell's barn. I mean, there's multiple barns that are firing off. And again, in the jockey colony, that Sam Houston jockey colony is about as good for a track of that caliber as I think you're going to find.
Yep.
I mean, with Eichelberry and
Luzzy, Stuart Elliott,
and Luzzy and Stuart Elliott. I mean, there's a lot of good jockeys in that colony who are all winning at a really nice clip. And so it's not like quite like Gulfstream, where it's like kind of the rich get richer and everybody else kind of gets the scraps, so to speak, and is, at an 8 or 9% win rate. Everybody's at that like 15 to 20% win rate. So you get a lot of nice plays there.
Final one for me in the 9th race. And we're going to go to the 2 Madame Rue, who went long on the turf for the first time last out. And Madame Rue was the 4 in the race that we're going to watch. Madame Rue was 70-1, actually 69-1, 70-1. And the number 4
Giggity
just stood in the gate, right? Giggity. Just completely stood in the gate to start and ends up, last here early on going into the first turn. And you actually see this horse make an early move into contention up the inside, and at one point gets like right up on the heels and within 2 lengths, and kind of tries to angle around, but the momentum stalls. And just like what I was saying last time out, with horses like this, they can't really start and stop. I think we can hear Milo in the background. He's saying hello here, waking up this morning.
Milo.
Yeah. He's, he wants to put a few bucks on Madame Rue.
I'm with him.
I don't blame him.
Nanu taught him Nanu taught him, my grandpa, how to root for the horses by their numbers, So when my dad was sitting there watching a race, he was like, come on, 7. And so Milo will say, he'll see it and he'll see the race come up and he'll go, come on, 7, which is great. I love it. So that's watch awesome. the 4 Madame Rue now start to really move into contention. Madame Rue is right up in between horses and not far out of it. But see, right here is the problem, where you got to be able to get through on the inside when you're making this move. And when you can't get through right now, you know that you're not going to be able to kind of angle to the outside and move around. So I thought that this was enough to build off of. Kind of move into traffic right here, nowhere to go, tries to move outside. Bye, buddy. I hope you feel better. and Madame Rue a little sneaky there in between. So at a big price of 15-1, and a major shout out to a jockey who just a few years ago, Valdez Jimenez was just a jockey, like he was an Arabian rider. Yeah. And he was so good. And one thing that I think all of us love, he's aggressive. He gets horses on the lead. He uses their speed a lot of the time. So I think we'll get a more aggressive ride here with Madame Rue. I got 3 bombs on Friday at Sam Houston. If you want to build your lineup, a couple major opportunities to do so as we shift our focus from Friday to Saturday. And on Saturday, I guess we can make a quick mention of it right off the bat, Matt. It is Dubai World Cup day on Saturday. They're having a big Dubai World Cup game, And so we figured since it's one of the biggest races in the world, we'll at least pull it up and make a mention. I don't know from a stable tool standpoint if I'm going to be able to give you a whole lot of help. But, and Barry and we were joking last night about life is good. That is all for our analysis, right? Like,
it is. I mean, life is good. Come on. I mean, it's the number one horse in the world. Drew the inside. This is a track that favors speed. You have to like that horse there. It's hard to get past it. I will say my boy Midnight Bourbon is finally at a proper value. Where 10-1.
Well, and in stable duel, you can use him for
it's $1,000, and now
he's a hard knocker. He's perfect for stable duel.
That again, I cannot emphasize this enough. The last 12 graded stakes races that he has run and finished, he has finished in the money 11 of 12 times. That is incredible. I mean, I know people are comparing him to Tacitus and others, kind of like that, where, just always right there. And while I think that Midnight Bourbon's best length is probably a mile or a mile and an eighth, probably his best effort that I've seen this or last year from him was at a mile and a quarter at the Travers, where he almost outdueled at Central Quality. So this is a horse that, like you said, it's just a hard knocker. From a stable duel perspective, I think you can find something there. And I think that's one of the things for people playing this. I've done a fair amount of looking at this overall card, and I will say there's a lot of big prices. And especially if you go to like the UAE Derby, which is also a Kentucky Derby prep race, there's a lot of big morning line prices. And I think you can find a lot of really nice value so that if you want to spend up to afford a horse like Life is Good, you can do that.
Midnight Bourbon. I can't really get around Life is Good all that much. What I do like for Hot Rod Charlie is that he's been there. Yeah. So if you're looking for like Hot Rod in a stable duel standpoint, I'm not going to give you anything creative with Hot Rod Charlie, but just hey, if somebody beats Life is Good, it wouldn't be shocking to me if it was a horse like this who's been there. They came in with a game plan. They won a local prep race. So maybe he has an advantage over some of the horses who have to do the last minute travel or who have, he's kind of got it situated, right? That's one of the things that we see. You can go and acclimate to it. But man, when Life is Good like his A game is as good of an A game from horses as we've seen in the last couple of years.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was on him when he was a Derby prospect. I thought he was the best guy going, but
I was a bummer.
Hurt. Yeah.
It's funny. He's the reason I was so out on Medina Spirit, because I was like, well, how good can Medina Spirit be? I mean, this horse just got crushed. And it was like, oh, well, he's that much better than everybody else. That the horse he dusted won the Kentucky Derby. And I was like, oh, okay.
I had
incredible.
I had in a fantasy horse racing league that I'm in, and I had Life is Good at the beginning, and I had so I thought I was in great shape. I had two. I can't remember the other 3-year-old who I had two, but I had like at one point the top two, and then neither one made the Derby, and both were. And I was just crushed. But I felt I was getting texts from everyone. They're like, "Oh, you're the winner. Life is Good. It's going to win the Triple Crown." And then he doesn't even make it. That's what's crazy thing about horse racing, right? You're on top of the world one day, and then the next day it's you're on the absolute bottom. But we will move from the Dubai World Cup to where on Saturday. You guys both have Gulfstream. I've got Santa Anita and some Sam Houston. So let's start at Gulfstream Park first and head over there. Barry, why don't you tell us where you want to go at Gulfstream?
Race 3,
Gulfstream for Saturday. And who are we looking at there?
Yes. Yeah, it's a claimer, 16,000. 7.5 on the turf. Now, these aren't the greatest horses that you'll ever see running around in circles.
You're being kind, right? I was gonna say.
But just the way this race kind of shook out, there's a decent amount of speed here, and inexpensive speed. See,
there you go. I like it. There you go.
But
it's making me feel bad, Barry.
I
gotta go back and buy Patty some flowers.
You shamed him. Yeah.
I ended up on number 5. He's a kitten. I know he's a little bit below what we have for a standard here, but I think this horse is really a good chance to win. I like this horse a lot, actually. has some races that go back to, within the last couple of years. I know he was off for about almost 2 years. But still, ends up running. And this horse came back running again after a layoff from October to December. And the last race got claimed by Jose Garofalo, who does pretty well off the claim, first off the claim, good enough to where you can say, all right, this horse has a shot. I think if this horse does not win tomorrow, you can kind of just leave it off. Don't put this one in the stable mail. It's
good
a
spot.
now or never. Right. This is the
Exactly.
perfect spot. If this horse is going to win, he's going to win. If not, forget about it.
Maddie, where are we headed for you at Gulfstream Park?
We'll go to the first race, and which is also, shall we say, a less than stellar field. And I think the closest any horse in this field has gotten to winning that has run previously is 7.5 lengths. So we're not dealing with life is good. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And so
a little more projecting in this race.
Yes. So I really like speaking of projecting, I like the number 5, Indeed. And this is a horse that perked up a little bit last time out on synth. You can see that from the speed figures. You can also just see that from the overall performance. And here's the thing. He finished a little less than 2 lengths behind Ranger Danger, who is the 5-2 second favorite in this race. So, and Ranger Danger finished 7.25 lengths behind. He's the number 5 horse, or the number 4 horse, I should say. And Ranger Danger finished 7.5 lengths off the lead. And, Indeed finished 9 lengths off the lead. Again, not like we're talking about world beaters here.
No.
And if one horse is 5-2 and the other is 12-1, well, I'm going to take the 12-1 horse for $750. It's an inexpensive horse that, again, perked up on synth. You would expect maybe second time on the surface is going to even do a little bit better, is going to be more accustomed to it. This is not a strong field.
No.
And that 40 buyer speed figure is the second best of any horse that's in the entire field. So even if this horse just replicates that last experience, it's looking at probably being able to hit the board. And for $750, I think this is a really nice play. So again, just taking into consideration the quality of the field and the fact that this horse has run pretty close to the favorite, it gives me a lot of confidence that you're going to get something positive out of the number 5, Indeed, for $750.
Indeed. Getting ready for make the third start of the form cycle. Second start on the synthetic. They're 12-1, only cost you $750 in your stable dual lineup. Barry, where else we headed at Gulfstream Park for Saturday?
Race 5.
Race number 5.
Which is a 25,000 non-winners of 12,500 non-winners of 2 lifetime on the synthetic, which is, everybody's
favorite.
Yeah, thorn in their side.
But you do well on the synthetic. You don't have a problem with it.
No, I don't at all, because it opens it up for prices quite a bit, because, traditionally as horse players in the United States, you see dirt races and it's speed first and they slow down, and then the opposite on the turf. Well, the speed on synthetic kind of is good at times, but it just depends on the weather, to be honest with you, because when it gets windy there, things it goes haywire, and there's always an opportunity for some chaotic results when that happens. Only on the synthetic. Like on the turf, it really kind of plays, true to form.
Pretty
Same
fair.
thing with the dirt.
Yeah.
Dirt is speedy as normal. Inside speed is the place to be. But these opportunities on the synthetic are really, really great, because the fields, when the fields are smaller, you can still get a price, but typically there's been a lot of big fields. Like this one, there's 10 signed on here, and they all look like they have a shot in one way or another. Everybody kind of looks the same. They've all run on the synthetic a few times. So you have an idea of the form, and it looks like they've made the number 4 Drum and Drummer the favorite, and he's just the only way this horse can win is on the lead.
Yep.
And I just don't have any confidence in that horse at 5-2, especially when the other favorite, or the second choice, Royal War, outside of him is the same. I mean, the PPs look almost exactly the same. So a bunch of ones, and then they stop. So I ended up on number 3 here. Pride and Passion. I think this horse, needed that layoff. It looked like he was kind of tailing off a form up at Woodbine. Comes off the bench, runs okay, but the thing that kind of stuck out to me is both times out wide. In the 10 spot on January 28th, and then the 6 out of 7 on February 16th, and then the lines on this, wide first turn, along for show, no gain. So dropping in, basically at the same level, getting a post position break, and having some back races that can actually win here. I think this horse's only win was on the synthetic, which is can say a lot in a field like this. At 8-1, I got to take a shot here.
Yeah. And I was just watching a couple nights ago Cool Runnings, and that scene, Senka, you dead, Matt? Yeah, man. But this reminds me of that scene where he says, look at yourself. I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who don't take no crap from nobody. And he keeps repeating it to himself.
That's right.
Repeat it to yourself. I see pride. I see pride. I love that. So that's
Pete Aiello's favorite movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
It's like his favorite movie.
I remember being in grade school, and me and my buddy annoying the girls in our class singing the song. Some people say, we can't believe Jamaica, we have the bobsled team, we have the Wonder East, the Senka, the Yule Brad, and the girls are just stop singing that, and we just keep going. Annoying the girls at a young age already, right? Yeah. So knew what I was doing then.
Oh, that wasn't your buddy that makes the song, right? That wasn't the same guy.
No, that was a different one. We were annoying girls in high school, so we were a few years
same
later
thing.
at that. Same thing. So, Matt, while we're at Gulfstream, do you have another play over there?
Yeah. And let's dust off those singing pipes too. So let's go to race 10, number 5, the Mac. So let's do the return of the Mac.
Okay.
And so because it is a return of the Mac.
Turn on me, you lied to me.
I love it.
Love me some Mac.
And so this is a 12.5 claiming 1 mile and 70 on the synth for non-winners of 3. And like Barry, I like the synth a lot. It's been really good to me at Gulfstream. I think, again, if you just spend time looking at it, you can figure it out. And this is a horse that I just was really impressed by because this is a horse that broke its maiden routing on the synth, kind of went on the synth as a sprint, didn't go well, stretched out, ran its best speed figure to date, broke its maiden, comes right back against non-winners at 2. So now comes right back on the same surface at the same distance, goes against winners and wires the field. And Barry, we can all speak to this. You do not see many horses wire on synth routing at Gulfstream. I mean, that's usually a death sentence for horses. I mean, they really fatigue down the stretch usually. And for that horse to do that, posting a career best speed figure, I'm really, impressed. Now, the horse takes a little bit of a layoff, comes back after about 8 weeks. And I wonder if there was something wrong with the horse, although, honestly, that was such an impressive effort. I also wonder that horse ran 3 times in about 7 weeks. So I wonder if they just wanted to get the horse a little bit of rest, for the next spot. But I just think this is a horse that doesn't need the lead. That maiden victory was a stalking position more. Then came out and wired the field. There's not a ton of speed in this race. Large, the horse right next door might give a little bit of early speed. So I think I think the 3 has some options. Nice. Can sit back maybe, or just if nobody's going to the lead, can be aggressive and take the pace, and has shown the ability to wire the field. This is a horse that only is going to cost you $5,000, 6-1. I just think this is a horse that, Kathleen O'Connell, who's the trainer, does really well with horses coming back from this sort of a layoff, wins at a 21% clip, and it's overall winning at 19% at Gulfstream. So I just think I was really impressed by this horse and some of those efforts early on. The layoff isn't that long, so I'm not too worried. So I have, because he's coming off the layoff, the return of the Mac at 6-1 for $5,000.
That's one of those too. That's like, it doesn't really matter where I am or what mood I am in. When that song comes, you know what I mean? Like song comes on, I'm gonna get a little smile and I'm gonna get a little like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
The shoulder wiggle, wiggle going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The shoulder gets going a little bit.
The windows are coming down in the car. Like, and I'm immediately transported to like 1997 and
right
like, in
back.
high school. Yeah.
I'm right back in that place where I'm like trying to crip walk with my buddies, and we're like, oh, look at those girls over there. Like I can picture myself right now in the dance, I just
It's so
good
crazy
stuff.
how that song is so much more popular now than it
Than
was
it
when it
was
came out.
When it came out, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those cult classics that, like people just the nostalgia about
Almost
it.
like
is-
the Rickroll,
right,
Rick
exactly.
Astley.
Oh yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So anything more at Gulfstream Park, fellas?
Actually, I got one to mention. I
Okay,
didn't
cool.
really necessarily pick this horse, but
Yeah,
the
but
11 in the 11th race, Tap the Gavel.
Oh, gotta go
Um,
11-11.
Yeah, at 20-1, which I don't think this horse is going to be 20-1. Stepping on the lawn for the first time, has some races comparatively that kind of matches up here. Transferred Barnes out of Mott into J.K. Sweezy,
Yep.
and I don't know why this horse is 20-1 on the
No, they've been
line.
working on the
but
turf too. Yeah.
yeah, I give him a shot.
Yeah. Tap the gavel at a price. Tap it. Tap that gavel. And we'll see if we can get it into the winner's circle on Saturday.
Oh yeah, you got Supreme Court stuff going on.
I was
See,
gonna
perfect.
say,
Yeah.
it's very apparent in the news right now as we head on over to
His hunch play also.
the-
We got to.
hunch play of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Rich Perloff used to call that the dunce cap. Any horse that afterwards you feel like a stupid head that wants to put the dunce cap on, that's the dunce angle. So like if there's any horse that afterwards you're going to be kicking yourself and calling yourself stupid, put the dunce on. So that might be the one there with the hunch play going on as we move to Santa Anita. Matt, do you have something at Santa Anita for Saturday, right?
I have Sam Houston for Saturday.
Oh, you have Sam Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, Barry, you have Santa Anita. Tell us where you're going to head, and I've got a couple for Santa Anita Saturday.
Race 6 is the first one I have.
Okay, and where are we going for race number 6?
This is a maiden claimer 40,000. I landed on Got Curly number 5. And typically I don't like horses like this because he's had his chances at numerously, but I think this is a trip horse. I think there's a lot of speed in here. A horse that I should like just for the name memes.
Yeah.
It seems to be pretty quick. Grand Concourse guy is very quick from the outside. You got horses inside of him that are fast. Deservedly is probably going to go to the lead.
Yep.
Even Dance Company might show a little bit of speed. So this horse might fall into a nice trip here.
I agree.
I like the surface switch and cutback.
I like it.
Going from a mile on the turf to 6.5 on the dirt, cutting back and dropping down in class slightly. I think this is the one.
Got Curly 12-1, only cost you $750. I've also got a 12-1 shot for you in race number 1 at Santa Anita. We can jump right into now, and I don't know how good this horse really is, but Istanbul won and broke the maiden last time out on the synthetic. Look who this horse ran into in his first few starts. So his first start, he runs into Roadster. And we know
Roadster was good. That was when
nice.
Roadster was good.
This was when Roadster was good too.
Yeah.
He goes on and he ends up winning the Santa Anita Derby not long after that. He was in the Grade 1 Del Mar Futurity and he was heavily favored there. There were a couple other horses like Gunmetal Gray was a nice horse too. This horse won a graded stakes. Savagery was a decent horse who won a lot of times coming out of there. So that's career start number 1. Then you go and you just continue on like this horse didn't really have very many chances. He goes and runs into Game Winner in his next start and Dueling. Look at this race. There were 4 next out winners in this race. And Game Winner, who was really, really good. So just early on, this horse just keeps running into just good horses. He runs into Bob and Jackie.
Look at all the horses that won.
I know. All of these
his
races.
best performances. Omaha Beach is in that.
Look at who's second in there. Yeah, Omaha Beach. So it's like, I don't really hold it against this horse that early on in his career, he couldn't get into the winner's circle and he was sort of struggling to make a dent. So then he's off from November of 2018 to May of 2020. He comes back. And when he returns, he runs into a race that's
stakes winner.
Also pretty
Haywood's
good.
Beach.
You got Haywood's Beach here. You've got the horse who was second, Eastern Ocean, came out of that race to win and is like a really nice allowance type horse. So again, like a really tough spot to come and jump right into your first start off of a long layoff. Now you go then you're off again for a year after that race. You come back and you're off. You show up after a year. And when you show back up, the winner of this race is
Lincoln
Harbored
Hawk.
Memories
Yes.
and Lincoln
Yeah.
Hawk.
Yeah.
It's like I had a fun journey with this poor horse, like I feel bad for Istanbul. Because again, we don't really know how good he is. He's 6 years old and he's only made 6 starts. He's obviously had a ton of physical issues, but he came back off of a long layoff again. He was off for 10 months and he wired that field. And I don't think I don't know if he's bad on the turf or anything. He's had some decent races on the grass. He just run into some buzzsaws now. If there's ever a horse who should get a lot out of a race, it's Istanbul with that race, with the form and the way his running lines look. He's 12-1 on the morning line, so he's only going to cost you $750 in your stable dual lineup. And it's not the biggest field in the world, so you don't need much from him to finish and pick you up some points, but he was just really intriguing to go through and see who that poor horse ran into for a lot of his career. Yeah. Unlucky. Barry, I've got one in the 5th. You have any more for Santa Anita?
Yep, last race.
Last race. Let's go
That's
to
the
yours.
bailout. That's the bailout.
The bailout race.
You gotta always have the bailout horse.
Just in case. You got to have one ready
Exactly.
to rock. Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's
Spell it all
my
out.
favorite trip, the 6.5 down the hill.
Oh, yeah.
An optional claimer, $100,000 price. I ended up on number 8, Pammy's Ready.
Nice.
I know I've said on this show and others many times that I like horses that are cutting back from a mile that show speed.
Yep.
This horse fits it to a T. And honestly, I don't think this horse really is going to need or want the lead, but I want this horse to be close up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this trip is just excellent. You got somewhat of a speed rider in Abel Cedillo. I just think this horse is just in the right spot at the right time. Another one, kind of Johnny on the spot.
Yep.
Fits here perfectly. Doesn't necessarily need to lead, and like you were talking about earlier, has options. There's quite a bit of speed sign on here, but it seems like it's going to end up being kind of like a rider's race. And
yep.
Since they haven't run too many of these, it seems like the riders are kind of rusty. I remember back in the day, you could kind of figure guys, get in good positions and just run them down late. But it seems like, since they brought it back, they forget how to ride it.
Mm-hmm.
And speed, and usually when that happens, speed kinds of, tends to be favorable because nobody runs.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm just hoping that this horse gets a nice close-up trip. Buyer speed figure wise fits with all these, and at a nice healthy 15-1, I couldn't resist.
Only 500 in your stable dual lineup there at that 15-1 price. I've got one more earlier in the card in race number 5, and this is a optional claiming first level allowance for Calbreds going 1 1/8 miles on the turf course. And so let's look at the 3 Worst Reed Sanchez. Just put a line through the San Felipe. Why is this horse 8-1? His Feb,
It's
right? Like,
what have you done for me lately, Janet
right?
Jackson style.
Yeah, because his February 4th, exactly. His February 4th race was he was beating a nose at this level, and he was really, really good. And you notice like his 3 races on the turf, you can see exactly the progression. He just wanted to go a little bit longer. His 6 furlong race was awesome. That's turf sprint. It was a brutal trip early, flew late. And I remember he was a playback horse, and you could tell he got bet down a bunch January 1st to January 15th, came back quickly. And then they actually thought enough of him. It's like, small field in the San Felipe. This horse is pretty good. Let's just see. Maybe we can pick up some points, and maybe this horse is a little better than we think. Well, no, he didn't really like the dirt. That's fine. He got outrun by Forbidden Kingdom. Put a line right through it, and let's play him back off the February 4th race. He's 8-1. He's only going to cost us $3,000. I think he'll be bet down a little bit off of that, and he fits really nicely in here. Worst Reed Sanchez. There we go. Worst Reed Sanchez. I was trying to think of
Ed
what
Reed
was it?
Sanchez.
Yeah, no, poor Markey. Poor Markey,
Yeah.
man. That butt fumble is going to stick with him forever, man.
Yeah.
He had a great year. He had a great year at USC. Some good stuff in the Rose Bowl at the end, but that butt fumble is going to be the thing. My poor Trojan guys, man. We got the butt fumble and we got the seeing ghosts. You know, they'll be for forever. It's going to stick with those two poor guys. That's over at Santa Anita.
And what do they also have in common? The Jets.
The Jet. I know. So you're right.
It's,
right.
it's probably not USC as much as
Goddamn
like,
Jets.
yeah, probably the worst run franchise in the NFL, or
That's
like
true.
second worst. Yeah.
Okay, let's finish things up with Sammy Houston for Saturday. They've got a big night on tap. Matt, tell us where you want to head for Sam Houston. So I think we've got there's a big $60 entry game. That's like, what is it, 8,000 the prize pool? It's massive.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you got that big one, and I think you have like a $10 entry game as well, with the 2,000 pool. So yeah, it's something for everybody. So let's go to the second race, and actually both of my plays are kind of right next door to each other in 2 and 3, and this is something that we talked about, Gino, I think 2 weeks ago with Command Performance, when Command Performance was a 3 to 5 morning line favorite, and you just go, well, let's look at everybody else in the field because somebody's got to come in second. Turns out that was Command Performance, actually.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those where this is a race. So the second race has an overwhelming favorite in Singapore Flash that is going off at 2 to 5. That's going to cost you $13,000 on Stable Tool. Forget that.
No,
I am going to the number 1 Stan's Hook and Bull, 15 to 1. $500. And here's the thing, folks. Even if you go, Matthew, I think you're full of crap with Stan's Hook and Bull at 15 to 1. Literally every other horse in this race is a good value. So
pick anyone else then.
Right. Then pick anyone else. But like,
and I will say, don't pick Mujab Jr.
Yep.
And not because Mujab Jr. can't win. Mujab Jr. is a stone cold closer.
Yep.
And so Mujab Jr. is going to lay back and launch and make one late run, and it's a small field and there's not a lot of speed in here. So You're not going to pick the 6 because it's too much. And Mujab at, you don't really want to spend up all that much for a stone cold closer. So now you're down to there's 4 other options.
Right. And so I like Stan's Hook and Bull. I mean, this is a horse that ran against Mujab Jr. and Singapore Flash last time out, finished 4th, granted a little ways back, but still showed the ability to at least not get blown out by these horses. And again, 15 to 1, $500. I just think it's not bad there. Now everybody's kind of stretching out too. This should be pointed out. This is a mile and an eighth on the turf. A lot of these horses are traditionally have only run a mile and a 16th, maybe even only a mile. So they are all stretching out. So I think that might have a little bit of an impact as well. But you look at the speed figures for Stan's Hook and Bull, it's improving since coming back from the layoff. And I just think, the one race at Remington Park that was, not particularly good. But really before and after that, you've seen some nice progression from this horse. 15 to 1. Again, you're not going to convince me to spend $13,000 on a horse in Stable Duel. So I'd rather go super cheap here because there are some stakes races later on where it is tough to get past the favorites who might be $8,000, $9,000. And now I can easily afford those horses and not have to worry about pinching pennies in those races.
You get Goncalves jumping aboard in a big jock upgrade also.
Yep.
Matt,
Huge
I'm doing the
upgrade.
same exact thing you're doing in race 2 and race 3.
Yep. Okay. So I'm also in race 3. So I want to hear who you go to first.
Because in race 3, Mr. Moneybags is 1 to 2.
Okay.
And Mr. Moneybags is the horse to beat, right? Like, tons of respect. This is a nice horse. He can beat Open Company. He's really good. But I can't spend up on him. I'm going to the rail with the speed, with Wonders of His Love. Wonders of His Love is 10 to 1, is only going to cost you 1,000. And I feel like I know what I'm going to get from Wonders of His Love. This is a really quick horse who's now going to go second off a long layoff. He didn't run from January 16th to March 5th for a full year. It was 15 months in between races, and he won. I think he'll take a step forward. I know we'll get some speed from the inside. He's the fastest in this field, and if they just let Mr. Moneybag sit off him a little bit, I think that will make they will give a really good opportunity for Wonders of His Love to pick up some points and to hit the board in here at just $1,000 and get us a good little run for our money here. So Wonders of His Love for me. Where about for you, Matt?
Yeah, I'll go right next to Wonders of His Love, and I'll play Suitor at 6 to 1 for $5,000. This is a horse that I think if you look at initially, you might kind of go, well, this is a turf horse. But if you dig back, this horse actually has decent form on dirt as well. 7 career races on dirt, 4 times hitting the board with 2 wins. Also, it should be pointed out, we talked about certain barns earlier. J.R. Caldwell's barn is firing off winners lately, and is really heating up. And also, Caldwell, get this, is winning 28% of the time, making the transition from turf to dirt. One of the things, for people maybe who don't play Sam Houston often, one of the things to keep in mind is it's not uncommon to see horses switch surfaces down there with pretty frequent regularity and maintain strong form.
Yep.
So I have confidence that this horse. I think this horse has a chance at potentially winning. Again, this is a horse that's run against some pretty good company before, has run against open company. And so I just think this is a horse that it also has Stuart Elliott aboard, one of the better jockeys down there. Nice bullet workout on the dirt on March 12th. So I for all the same reasons you mentioned, I'm not going to spend up for Mr. Moneybags either. I'm much rather catch, he's a suitor who I think, at 6-1 for $5,000. If I get a second, I'm fine. And I think I might even be able to pull an upset victory here, a la Command Performance a couple weeks ago at Tampa.
Like it with He's a Suitor, only going to cost you $5,000. I'll mention a couple more a little later in the card for anyone who's playing a Sammy Houston lineup on Saturday in race number 7. So you look at just the pricing of a lot of these horses, right? The 2 Texas Thunder, who's 4-1, beat Jan's Turn to Win by a half of a length last time out. And Jan's Turn to Win is 15-1.
Yep.
And just in knowing Jan's Turn to Win specifically, like January the 20th, she had a brutal trip. She was down on the inside. She was stuck. And so they wheeled her back real quick. They brought her back in 9 days and they put her on the front end. She's not going to be on the lead in here, though. There's a lot of speed, and that's why I like her. It was like a harness race. You see that happen in harness racing a lot. When a horse gets in trouble, then the next week they just put him right on the front end just to get him out of the trouble. But that doesn't mean they're like a need-the-lead speed horse. I love when you do that because it's like, hey, we just don't want to get cute anymore. We don't want to get shuffled back. We want to make sure if we lose, somebody's got to beat us and they got to come past us. So I liked what they did with Jan's Turn in that race, just kind of handling her like she was the best. And then recently, she actually was a little bit unlucky because Texas Thunder got the lead and she just couldn't get by Texas Thunder. But she did loom up. She was right there. Now you've got Moro Lingerie, who's kind of quick. But the real key to this race, I think, is Tolanda. Tolanda is fast. Tolanda is coming out of open races, the 8 here. And so Tolanda should be able to push the 2 a little bit more than we've seen the 2 Texas Thunder get pushed in the last few. I think the race sets up very well for a 15-1 shot. I mean, and again, I'm not someone who just looks at a buyer, but when you compare this horse's best victory and the buyer of like the 59 win for Jan's Turn to Win, and then stack that up with the rest of the field, it's right there. It's literally right with the rest of them for a horse who's 15-1.
And great connections. It's that Caldwell-Luzzy connection too. So, I mean, you have, you just trust the hands this horse is in.
I can't tell you how many, price horses I've nailed doing the, with that same kind of logic you guys are using in those last couple of races. I mean, it's really one of the things that separates you when you play multi-race bets also, because you fall into these horses that, for whatever reason get really high on the morning line when they in actuality they have a way better chance, and then they end up going off similar to the price they are on the morning line or higher. I've had that happen too. I call it falling into long shots. And that's what you try to do when you in a multi-race sequence where you can kind of narrow things down in one leg and then you can open it up in another, and you use horses like that. Or even if you like this horse enough to single a horse like that in a multi-race bet, and it could just explode your ROI.
That's what you're looking for. That's exactly what you're looking for.
Yep.
2 more I wanted to mention for you. We hit to the 9th race. This race is one of the most wide open on the card, probably the most contentious. I think Nick Tamero probably had the hardest time making this morning line. Direct Dial is 7-2, probably just because he's got a lot of this back class and people know him. He was a former Texas Horse of the Year. But I'm going to look to the 4 Bobby Brinkley, who is now going to go 3rd start off the long layoff. Bobby Brinkley is sort of just trying to find where he fits. 2 back, he was sprinting on the turf. He ran into Let's Go Alamo, who's sharp, who's put a couple wins back to back. And then he faced Open Company last time out. So now he's back in with Texas Breds. 3rd start off the layoff. I think he's ready for just another nice effort. And at 8-1 will only cost you $3,000 in a wide open race. So maybe one to use there. And we'll show you one more in the final race to try to close things out with a 10-1 shot who would only cost you $1,000. And that's Who's Your Daddy. This is
I like this play a lot.
Yeah, this is a turf sprint. He was really impressive in his debut. He's got that perfect style that I want in a turf sprint where he doesn't need the lead, but he doesn't need to be dead last. So he can sit close. He can maneuver around if he has to. You got Eckleberry jumping aboard. He's a first-time gelding, so there might be even a little bit more upside to him here. Like he may have a step forward that we don't even know built into some of the figures. Who's Your Daddy at 10-1 only cost you $1,000 there. So lots of opportunities, Matt, on Saturday night for some prices over at Gulfstream Park or at Sam Houston.
Yeah,
always at Gulfstream too.
Yeah, always and always at Sam. I mean, it is you get big prices there all the time. We've been seeing that the whole meet. There's no reason to start, getting too attached to any of the chalk. And to Barry's point too, I mean, certain horses you just kind of know are going to get bet down in between morning line and post. I mean, certainly sometimes we've talked about some of the connections that are pretty famous that'll get bet down, but there's a lot of opportunities. I can't tell you, Barry, the number of times I've fallen into a long shot at Sam Houston as well, where I really like a horse, but then the favorite just takes on so much money that it drives up the price on, these horses that are 8-1 that end up going off at 15-1. And you just fall into something really nice. So
don't forget about the chance to still get the free formulator right now with DRF bets. You still have through April the 15th, couple more weeks to take advantage of the deposit match bonus. You deposit $250 and you sign up and use the promo code winning. And then all of a sudden your $250 turns into $510 and 10 free formulator cards. So that $250 will go a long way for you, and you'll be able to dive into those cards just like we were. And a big shout out to the winner today of the $50 that we're going to be giving away. Wanted to thank everyone who helped retweet. I think we're going to be doing things more like this where we'll be able to put some money into your Stable Duel account. Maybe we'll have some t-shirt and hat giveaways. We'd love to be able to give a little bit back to all the people who are out there hanging out and helping share all the live streams. So Johnny J. Tan, Grizz Knights, you're going to need this Stable Duel money this week because he said Gulfstream, Tampa, Laurel, Golden Gate, Dubai all weekend long. So
love it.
He's going to be all over the place. So we're going to put 50 into your account. Johnny, I'll make sure to reach out to you. If you're listening and watching right now, you can shoot me a DM. Let me know what your Stable Duel name is, and we'll make sure we get that money put into your account shortly. Matt, thank you so much, buddy. Barry, my man, you have a fantastic weekend. Keep kicking ass like always. And folks, we will be here with you every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We will be dishing out bets for Friday and for Saturday. Right now, we head on home. But Joey Cleveland, the soothing sounds of Joey Cleveland. Here we are.
Better, you want to spread your pony knowledge wide.